Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy from Inspired by the Journey, and today I'm going to show you what I think is the best way to spend a port day in Hamburg. We'll be visiting the Miniature Wonderland, which is the largest model railway in the world and the most popular attraction in Hamburg. We'll tell you everything you need to know about the Wonderland, including how to book tickets when they seem to be sold out, and also how you can get there and back from the cruise port. Stay watching to the end to get my 5 top tips for the Miniature Wonderland. Let's go! We docked in the Steinwerder cruise port. We'd planned to do this trip in 2024 when we were sailing on P&O Iona, but due to a ship that had sunk in the harbour, we were unable to dock and we ended up in Bremerhaven instead of Hamburg. So today was the day to finally see the model village and we were feeling pretty excited. We booked our tickets a few weeks in advance, as it was considerably cheaper to do it that way rather than book via the cruise line. We generally don't do cruise line excursions. Tickets have a specific entry time, and when we came to book, it appeared that all of the times other than those in late afternoon had already been booked up. I'd seen some advice previously that said if you book the VR experience along with the ticket just to get you into the Miniature Wonderland, you'd get a better choice of times. So that's what we did, and we arrived just as the museum was opening. To get into the museum itself, it was €20 for adults and £12.50 for children under 16, with an extra €10 for the VR experience. When I looked, there didn't seem to be a super easy way of actually getting from the cruise port to the Miniature Wonderland, so we decided that the quickest option was going to be to take a taxi, and it was about €30 to get from the port, so it's not too bad. The museum is mostly laid out over 2 floors, and within the floors it's split into different zones. So on the 4th floor, there are Bavaria, Hamburg and Central Germany.
I need somewhere to
See all the smoke coming out of this building.
I need somewhere to collect water from. Where could that somewhere be?
Over here there seems to be lots of elephants. Elephants on roofs, elephants in cars,
Elephants in the theatre.
elephants in the theatre, elephants at the train station. So many elephants.
On a sign here it says that this is true to scale, the TV tower, and it was going to be 3.2 metres tall, but the ceiling wasn't high enough, so they had to make it to 1.6 metres to keep it to scale. Here's a car getting repaired in a garage. Looks like it has some kind of problem with its headlights. And oh no, a building is on fire. What a disaster. There's Switzerland. There's Austria. This looks like a sleeper train, Milo. So the attention to detail on these models is amazing. There's America. Looks like Jen and Milo are having fun over there, taking a good look at a few things. Off goes the shuttle again.
Must be Christmas, there's a Coca-Cola van.
And there's also Scandinavia. So on this bit it says it's a fully functioning lock. If you press the button, the water will rise by up to 10 centimetres, which is absolutely amazing. Jem was just saying that this is a bit like IKEA, so if you keep following it round, then you should be able to see everything in a bit of an order. By far the most popular area when we visited was the Nöttingen airport area. It was quite difficult to see at times, but the airport covers 150 metres square, which is absolutely crazy. It was particularly impressive because they had planes taking off, taxiing and landing. There were departure boards and a schedule that was followed. The attention to detail was absolutely amazing. On our nearly next adventure, we're going to be taking an A380 all the way from London over to LA and then a cruise up to Vancouver with a week in Vancouver afterwards. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel because you definitely won't want to miss out on that whole series of videos. Within each area, there are quirky, amusing and sometimes slightly rude details to keep an eye out for. We won't spoil the surprise by showing all those things in detail, but here are a couple of examples. One other area that was really interesting was the control room. It's hard to believe how much work and electronics has gone into this museum and how complex it is to keep everything running as it should do. So from here they can control absolutely everything in the Miniature Wonderland. Super clever. There are plenty of buttons to press across the museum to keep kids big and small entertained. Milo, you're going to press the button for the lighthouse keeper again. Then we can see his light came on. And oh no, he's dropped his binoculars in the water. What did you find in there, Milo? I don't believe you. Oh yeah. His nose got so big it came out the door. Poor old Pinocchio. On the third floor there were Patagonia and Antarctica. Right, show me where this igloo is then. What? Welcome to Brazil and Rio de Janeiro. It's quite cool how they've done all these buildings in here, so it looks like the buildings that you would see in somewhere like Brazil. Italy and Venice. Now here we are in Monaco. So on the far side over there I can see lots of big yachts as you'd expect. And also some Grand Prix cars, Formula 1 cars going around. It's pretty cool.
Night time in the miniature village at the moment. The lights are on.
And last but not least, Provence. Everyone's enjoying a nice beer or maybe an Aperol Spritz. I could do with a coffee now actually, we've been here quite a while already. There was loads of information about the construction of the Wonderland. So here it gives you a bit of information about the Miniature Wonderland and kind of what they used to make it all. I'd say sort of the places we've been to, it's been quite engaging. Can't believe actually quite how much time we've spent here already. And you could also see some examples of new additions that are being constructed at the moment. It's going to be so interesting to see how it grows over time. So we think that's where the whole exhibition is going to be, in this bit?
Building this area out to open up some more exhibitions.
Okay, yeah.
By next year.
Might be done.
Yeah.
We'll have to come back another time to see this bit. Look at this one's on its side, isn't it? So this is a certificate from the Guinness Book of Records to say that the Miniature Wonderland has the largest model train track in the world. There was an interactive game which kept Milo amused for ages. It was kind of a projection game which responded when wooden items were placed onto the playing surface. I thought it was pretty cool, but I definitely didn't get a look in for a go. I think we spent about 3 hours in the Wonderland overall, and it was amazing quite how quickly the time passed without us even noticing it. We felt like we could have spent longer there, but by then we were all getting a bit tired and hungry. Our original plan was going to be to get a taxi back to the ship, but we didn't actually find anywhere obvious to get a taxi back. So in the end we just decided to walk as the weather was so great and we needed the exercise. So one of the things that we found is that we're visiting on the Sunday, so almost all of the shops are closed. Looks like some of the cafes and bars and bits are open, but the vast majority of the shops are closed. Now when we looked at the weather before we came, the low temperature was -9 and the high temperature was 0. So having a nice bit of sun is an absolute bonus. As you walk along the side of the river, there were quite a few stands that were selling things like bratwursts and currywurst. I'm actually quite hungry now as well, so I wouldn't actually mind one. To get back to the Steinwerder cruise terminal, you can walk through the Elbe Tunnel, which is an amazing experience on its own. The tunnel is 426 and a bit metres, and it's now closed to vehicles, which means it's a safe and enjoyable experience for a walk or cycle. It was opened in 1911, having taken some 4 years to build. The walk is about 5.1 kilometres or 3.2 miles, and it's mostly flat, making it quite straightforward on a sunny day. The tunnel was just one of those experiences that you stumble upon without really planning to, that ends up being an unexpected highlight of the day. Definitely check that out. What did you think of the tunnel, Milo?
Good. Going in the car was good also. Quite good.
Here are my 5 top tips for visiting the Miniature Wonderland. If a ship is in port and it's a weekend, the Wonderland is likely to be very busy. In fact, it might be so busy that you can't even get in even if you queue. Check out their website because they have a waiting time prediction on there, but what I would say is definitely get there as early as possible. It does get very busy as the day goes on, and what I'd say is I'd leave any large backpacks etc. on the ship, as you'll end up knocking into people as you're looking around the Wonderland. They do also have baggage lockers, so that's also an option. They have charging stations on the 4th floor, so if you're low on battery, whether you're on your phone or your camera, then you can definitely charge that up there. Now, if you arrive later than 15 minutes after the allocated time that you booked, the reservation will be cancelled. Tickets are also non-refundable. You can reschedule until 24 hours before your booked time, so it's worth just thinking about that when booking and maybe making sure you've got missed port cover on your travel insurance, because like I said earlier, we did miss this port before. Unfortunately, we were able to get a refund, but generally that isn't possible. The Wonderland is fully accessible for wheelchair users, and there's also a baby changing room with free nappies and wipes. There are plenty of spots to rest for a few minutes, and a bistro and diner with a dedicated play area, so you won't have to go hungry. I don't think I'm ever really hungry on a cruise. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Do remember to like the video and to subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate that, and it helps us a lot. There are plenty more videos in this Northern Europe series to come, including Rotterdam, Le Havre and Zeebrugge, and this time we stayed in Blankenberg. We had a really good day, so you won't want to miss those. Until the next adventure, see you soon.